Hello everyone, and welcome to Corsa Studio. I'm really happy to have you with me today because I've prepared something special for you. I designed a Sandcrawler style base using the new Watershippers building set, and I'm going to be showing you exactly how I built it. It is a single advanced sub-fief build that you can use as a starter base or maybe a deep desert base. It is of course not as efficient as a shoebox, but it is probably way cooler than that. I'm able to fit my carrier into here, a Sandcrawler, storage container, a buggy, medium storages, so it can be used in the deep desert. So this is a step-by-step assembly guide or build along with me style video. At the same time, I'm going to be sharing some tips and tricks as I'm building that I've learned while using this building set. But also I'm going to share my opinion about it as well. So get yourself comfortable and let's get into it. To get this build started, you will need 8500 granite and a little bit of scrap metal. There it is on the screen there. This is the shape of the foundation that we're starting with. You're welcome to take a screenshot of that or follow along here. So we need to start by setting up a 9x10 grid, and we can do that by placing the foundation at the very corner of our sub-fief and then shifting it over about half a foundation off the edge here. So roughly where your aiming reticle or your cursor is located right now, that's where the edge of the foundation needs to be. It doesn't have to be perfect, but this first row we are setting up is just for us to visualize where the center of our plot is at. So once we visualize where the center is at, which is your center 3 foundations, we just need to build the second row. The reason we are doing a 9x10 build instead of a 10x10 is that the garage door is actually 3 floors wide. That means it's going to be off center in a 10x10 grid. So the first row that we built was just there to set up the grid. We just need that second row. And basically we're going to be alternating with doing a row of 3 foundations and then a row of 5, and we're going to do it 4 times. So 4 rows of 3 and 4 rows of 5. Now the last row of 5, we're actually going to leave the center empty. So here we go, just like that. The next portion of the base we're going to be working on is going to be the ramp, and the ramp has a small room built underneath it. So we're going to start with placing down half walls on the edge of our foundation here, and we are going to use roof pieces because for some odd reason we don't have half sloped inclines or ramps. It would seem like a half slope ramp would be one of the easier components to design, but for some reason we don't have it with this building set. If you're building this base in an area where the front of the terrain kind of dips down, worst case scenario, you could use the regular ramps as the first row and then transition into the roof pieces here at the top. But even if these roof pieces are slightly off the ground, it's not a big deal because most vehicles will be able to get on top of it. Also, another thing with the concept for this base is that I was thinking it's like a drop-down ramp because it's a crawler, because I usually would prefer the ramp to dig into the ground. But here I'm just covering the gaps with half walls and half wedge walls, and in the corners underneath the top of the ramp is, by the way, a 3x3 squares. And then the center here, you can decide whether you want to kind of leave that room open or do you want to put a door there. It's completely up to you. But these round walls are really necessary, and you'll see in a minute why. Another thing, again, that I really wish that this building set had would be round walls that are not a window. But what they have here is really awesome. I would just say that most things that they added to this building set I really like. My biggest gripe with this building set is that it's missing pieces. Not that the pieces that they have aren't good. But here we go. We just finished the ramp here with the room underneath it. Alright, so next we're gonna continue working on this ground floor, and I would say that I'm really liking these foundations compared to other building sets such as the Atreides or Harkonnen. Some of the foundations don't really have cool walls to look at, so you typically just, hide them on the ground and that's it. So here's how you set these up right here. This is how you angle them, and then you place them on your row of 5 floors, just like that, except in the back corner there, we are putting a round foundation right there. And kind of jumping ahead a little bit, as you see this gigantic V cut out on one side of the foundation, which is a gap large enough for somebody to squeeze through. So I had to design it in such a way that eventually I'll be covering that gap so nobody can squeeze into your base. So next we're going to be putting a regular roof right here and the gaps in between the foundations. And on top of them we're going to be putting a staircase, which I must say, again, very cool design on a staircase, but for some reason no half staircase, which I use a lot. There we go, that section is done. Alright, so now would be a good time to set up the staircase leading to the second floor and probably closing all the gaps behind the base. So this will be a good demonstration of what to do when you have no half inclines, is that since we're going to be having a wall and a half space between our floor and the roof above, is that we have to create these railings, which we don't have. We don't have half slope railings. So I'm just setting it up here with half wall, half wedge wall, and then go up to a full wall and so on. We're just slowly increasing the height here. In the back we're putting the round wall and then another inverted wedge wall there. The only reason it is possible for me to use that wedge wall right there is because that foundation we put on the corner is round, and as I said in my tutorial before, is that you cannot attach walls to foundations, so the foundation will be blocking that placement. But because it's round and the way it's angled, we can do it. And you see we have no half incline, so we have to use the roof into stairs. So that would be your one solution. Then we can put this railing gate, which also looks pretty awesome. And I didn't have scrap metal when I was doing this section here, but you can actually place these new lights right there. So that completes the staircase here. I think it looks pretty good considering there's no half inclines there. And now I think we should continue working on the back end of the base here. And I would say with all these angles that they got, I mean, this building set looks like it was designed by Lamborghini or something. In the gap that we left in the back here, we'll put a roof, which allows us now to line up this next foundation higher than the rest of the base by half a wall. So we put a regular foundation in the center and then round foundations on the side. Now there's different ways you can turn it and get kind of a different design here, whether you want it to face that way or the way I had it, which I kind of like the way I had it initially right there. And then all we got to do is cover that gap some more behind the staircase with half walls or full wall, whatever you decide. So now we can concentrate on setting up our 6 rooms on the first floor, on the ground floor. And I imagine these being storage, although you can fit some smaller refinery stations into here. But remember how we had the roof and the staircase right above it? What we're doing now is just extending that roof piece below the staircase to 3 sections. So we're just adding 2 more sections on each side. Now this section is angled, so we need to level it out by using some wedge walls and half walls here. We're only taking it to that level right now just to get it leveled out. Once you get both sides leveled out, now we can put a piece of floor here right past the staircase, like so. That gives us a flat surface to put our working station or storage. Now you can choose between going with a door here or a passageway. If you are using the medium storage container in this spot right there, if that passageway is in the way, just get rid of it. Then go ahead and cover these two gaps in the floor here in the back of the base with the round corner inverted, and then add two half walls here to level out the back end as well. Now we're going to place these half walls above the foundations right besides the staircase in order for us to get a leveled wall section. Now everything is on the same height, but leave the back side of the foundation empty because we're going to place something else here. The reason we did not put a half wall at the front of that foundation is because we're going to be attaching these crawler legs to it. So this is going to be the next part that we build, as well as we're going to build the staircase leading to the second floor. So we're kind of wrapping up this first floor here shortly. These arches will attach to the top of our foundations here. Some of them can be pretty tricky to get them to snap the right way that you intend them to snap, but it's nothing new because anytime you use any large piece from any other set, or I should say the Atreides or the Harkonnen set, they also can be finicky, but those I've figured out. This one is still haven't figured out what the trick to these are, so you watch me struggle here for like 5 minutes with this damn thing. This particular piece within the set is kind of strange to me a bit because it's not universal. You cannot interpret this as any other thing other than some kind of robotic arm or leg. So unless you're building a robot, a crawler, or maybe use this as one of those like legs on a ship that holds the ship off the ground, landing chassis type thing, I don't know what else you would do with it. These pillar tops attach perfectly to the end of these arches. So go ahead, attach the pillar top and then the pillar middle. Now it looks like a crawler leg of some kind. One interesting thing that I found about these inclines is that they can sit just like that right in front of the arch and no problems with collision here. It goes straight through it. And I like this look better because I wasn't a fan of that 90-degree turn. This kind of makes it look like the foundation and the arch are one piece. I only covered the gap underneath the incline at the front here. Next, we can concentrate on finishing the lower floor and transition to building the middle floor. Now would be a good time to put the garage door here. And when we coming into this second floor here, instead of using regular floor, I'm using roof piece number 2. And you may wonder why I do that. It's because with using these roof pieces, it creates a lip right there that your character can get stuck on. So to create a smoother transition without your character being stuck, you can either use like a roof piece like that creates a nice and smooth transition if you can afford it, but we don't have the space underneath the floor there to accommodate for that. So instead I'm using rooftop number 2 here to create a smooth transition into this second floor. Over here we don't have half stairs and we have to go up a little bit over the doorway of the room below us. But from there we can just go with floor number 2, which gives you a white ceiling underneath. We cover everything other than one piece of floor here for where the staircase comes through. And I must say that I really like the fact that they included a lot of lights in these pieces, in the ceilings, and the doors, and the stairs. I just wish it produced more light. In some cases the game can be pretty dark. We're going to move along here and concentrate now on setting up the rooms on the middle floor here. We're going to pick up the pace a little bit. This floor is going to be the garage, and also is going to have 6 bays here, which are going to be just a hair bigger than the ones below. We're starting with 3 half walls on the edge of our room here, and the reason why we're using 3 half walls instead of the 1 regular wall and a half wall is just because of aesthetics. You're welcome to try a different design and replace the 2 half walls with 1 solid wall, maybe even put a window there. Back on the inside of the base here, I'm continuing with the rooftop number 2 inside the rooms. To keep it uniform, that's how I decided to do it. You can place objects on top of this roof, no problem. If you go with 1 floor and then the roof piece, it looks odd to me. So just to keep it uniform, I went with 2 roof pieces instead. The wall pattern here at the front is I put 2 windows here right beside the garage door, and then wall number 3 attached below here, cutting the floor in half, or the floor cuts the wall in half. This is the pattern that I follow in the other rooms here. So once you're done with that, go ahead and attach a roof number 2 right at the end of the room here. That's the one with the window. And then in the middle section, attach an additional roof piece there. In the other 4 sections, we're building a little box like this using half walls, starting at the top of the roof piece, like so. So the center rooms get the rooftop number 2, and the other 4 get a floor number 2. Now we just need to cover the gaps in the walls here in the room, and to change things up and use different pieces, I'm going with wall number 2 above the walls we had set up previously, except for the very end of the room there, where it will require us to use wedge walls. Tell me wall number 2 does not look like it belongs in a spaceship. Or maybe insane asylum. One of the 2. Here at the end we're using half walls and wedges to cover the gap. We have a little bit of an extra gap in the center rooms that we are covering again with half walls and wedges, since it is slightly different than the other 4 rooms. Look at that wall right there. That one is the one with the white interior. It has sort of these horizontal lines in it that resemble louvers or vents. There's essentially only 2 types of walls in this set. There's the one that are kind of horizontal and one that are vertical. That's it. They have the neutral one that's white inside and outside, but that's about it. Just making sure that I didn't miss anything. So the last thing we need to add here are half walls above the entrance to the rooms. It will make sense later. But essentially there's different variations of rooms that you can come up with. You can add a roof piece below the half wall there, and then a door that gives you a smooth transition into the doorway. Another one is you can just add a floor and then another half wall with a doorway here. I don't have scrap metal, but this will be a good spot for a light right there to light up the room. But it's entirely up to you what you decide to do with these rooms. At this point, we are essentially finished with the garage over here. All we have to do is attach floor number 2 to the bottom of these half walls we just set up. That's going to be the height of this room. And at the back of the garage here, we are using window number 2, and we're just completely covering this back wall with it. So we're just adding ceiling on top of this room. We are only leaving a gap of 2 floors at the center back for the staircase for the 3rd floor. At this point, I think it would be good to work on the back of the base here. This is what we're going for. So in the back here, we are starting off with wall number 2, attaching 3 of them to the top of the foundations we set up here earlier. And then at the bottom half of that wall, we're attaching half walls, just like that. To the bottom of the half walls, we are attaching like an inverted triangle going upwards. 3 of them like that. And then we're just making sort of like this V shape here. Same thing on the other side. 3 triangles at the bottom, 1 at the top, facing inwards, just like that. So now we're going to cover this bottom gap here. We'll just follow that same angle using the roof piece we've used so much already. And at this level right here, we'll just put a piece of floor right here, just 1 or half a level below the very top here. We'll do it on both sides. So in the back at the bottom here, we want to do the same thing. We're just covering these gaps like so. We're essentially mimicking what we did at the front. So half wall, then a wedge wall here, just like that, and then underneath here as well. May not be able to attach anything there where it's touching the foundation. So in the center here, we're attaching roof number 2 the way we have it attached here in the center, like that. And that gives us like a flat surface, but it just makes it more interesting. It sort of looks like exhaust vents. That gap right there is completely covered, so nobody can get into the base. It's an interesting use of a roof piece that's essentially giving you like a flat floor, but it's not so flat. It gives you some texture. In the back here, we're just attaching 3 walls like so. Wall number 3, and the reason I'm going for wall number 3 is that it has a darker interior, and that's what I'm looking for in that section here. So that's what you should end up with. The next part we're going to be building are the exhaust vents and the tail lights here. We are going to start off with the exhaust vents, or exhaust louvers, which are just regular staircase here. We want to make sure that it attaches to that floor we set up here at the bottom, and it faces upwards towards the back. And then we need to cover this gap with a wall triangle. Same thing here on the other side. I'm just gonna skip a bit forward here. I'm gonna go get some scrap metal here. Go underneath the stairs over here and attach this light in the center of the stairs. And that's the thing I do like about these lights, is that they are orange, because we have white, we have blue, now we have orange glow, which does look really good with certain building sets, specifically the interior of the smuggler set. While we're here underneath the stairs, we can cover this gap right here with a half triangle bottom here. So this is what we end up with. Now on the side, we're mimicking the same thing we've done before for those rooms with 3 half walls right here. and 3 half walls at the front over here. Here we go, finally got it right. 3 half walls right there. And then we just use half walls to wrap around that staircase there. Just like that. Now I'm setting up floors that are sitting right where the staircase ends. So just below those half walls, put a light right in the center of that floor right there. Half walls in the back. Then go to your roof selection and choose that first rooftop you have there. Just like that. This will act sort of like taillights. That's what I envisioned anyways. So I say we just finish the back end here completely. This is what we're going for. So the easiest way to start this section here is by adding a floor right here. Attach them to the window walls. Those are the ones with the red bottom here. Now we need to cover this gap here by the tail lights with triangle bottom, just like that. Now on the edges of the floors we just added here, we just add half triangle bottoms or tops, and then to those you just attach 2 half walls and a triangle bottom, just like that. Now we do need to cover this portion here above the tail lights, but instead of using regular floors we'll use the roof here. The roof has a light built into it and it looks a lot cooler, and we of course covered the gaps with wedge walls here. This is the angle that the roof needs to be at. It needs to go up towards the front of the base, and you can see those lights right there reflecting off the tail lights. So same thing on the other side, 2 half walls and then half triangle bottom here. This time you'll see how the roof is angled from this side here. Here we go. That should do it here. Now we do need to add another triangle bottom on each side here. Half triangle bottom, I should say. And then we'll add 2 roof pieces following that same angle. Just like so. Now next to that, we just need to add wall number 3 on each side right here. And then in the middle portion there above the windows, we are putting wall number 2, just to break it up. Match the bottom half. Here's something you can add for detail. Underneath the ceiling here by the windows, we're adding roof number 2, which blends really well with those windows. It splits that window in half here, but it also adds these like supporting beams almost that are supporting the ceiling. Adds more detail, more character. At the very top, we just need to add a row of half walls. And then on top of them, we're adding roof number 2 with the windows. And that should complete the back end of the base for now. I think now would be a good time to put up a staircase to the 3rd floor here and your hangar, starting with 2 staircases and then half walls where the staircase begins. On top of the half walls, we are adding triangle bottom. It's the full size one. On top of that triangle bottom, half wall again. And then half wedge walls here. I'll explain why I did not use the railings here a bit later. Underneath the staircase here, we can put a passageway that leads into our ground floor, and we can put a light right here in the center. That looks pretty nice. At the very start of the staircase again, we can do the railing trick again. Set up these little lights right here. I think that's close enough. Looks pretty cozy to me. How about we work on the front of the base now? This is what we're going for. Starting at the center of the ramp, we are adding roof corner inward, one on each side. We're changing the angle of the ramp here, pushing it outwards towards the sides. At this point, I'm making a mistake here. This half wall attached to the edge of the roof is fine. Go ahead and do that, but do not add the two other extra half walls to it, because it has to be a full wall and then back to half wall. So I'll fast forward to the part that you do need to do, and then we'll correct the mistake. For now, we can do this part right here, which is adding our triangle bottoms and 3 triangle tops below that, and then add more roof pieces below it, like so. Go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. Ignore this bit, because here's me realizing that I made a mistake. So now we're at this point here. So all you have to do now is add half walls to the top of those roofs, and we'll go from there, which is 3 half walls on the side, just like we did for the rest of the base. At the front of the base, we attached a full-size wall, and then a triangle bottom, top, and then bottom. So 2 full-size bottoms with half top one. So this section here on the inside, instead of using 3 half walls, we used half wall, full-size wall, and half wall, and then we are covering the bottom part with a roof, but the top part with the staircase. And I apologize if I'm moving too fast. So here it is on the other side here. On the inside, we're using half wall, full wall, and a half wall, and then the first roof piece here. At the front, we're using half wall, full wall, and then back to our wedge walls here, which is triangle bottom, and then on the sides 3 half walls. Once you do that, again, top of that section gets 2 staircases, and we're just covering the gaps in the back the same way we do at the front, essentially. But here's an interesting decision here, or an interesting quirk about this building set. You can actually put the roof piece number 2 behind the staircase, but you can't do it behind your regular ramp. And as you see, the window is protruding through the staircase. There's a reason why I did that, but we'll talk about that later. Alright, so here we are attaching 2 floor pieces to the top of this thing here. And then below those 2 floor pieces, we are attaching roof number 2 with the window, as well as attaching one of those pieces to the center of the garage door. And then on the edges of that, a roof corner inward, which leaves us with a gap at the top corners of the garage door to be filled in with a triangle bottom half, like so. Just at the top point here, we are flipping the direction of the triangle top half here with the dark gray section facing outwards. Finally, the last thing that we have left to do is attach 3 floors right above those roof pieces right there. While we're here, let's go ahead and just finish this front end here. Let's continue this dark gray row over here with half walls. And all we got left to do is just half walls facing outwards now at the top of that. So the rear is finished, the front is finished, now we just have to finish this side of the base. So remember these two flat areas we set up with half walls? Well, now we just need to attach floors to those areas. Floor number 1 specifically, or just the one that's called floor. That one has the red bottom again. So it's essentially a 2x5 grid here, and to the edges of this grid we are attaching this double wide window, which I'm really digging. I wish other building sets had this same window option, but in between those two windows you can put whatever other wall that you wish, which I went with the other smaller window here. Now over here at the lower half of the wide window we need to attach a half wall facing outwards and then wrap it around here. We're creating another little section here with using these half walls, because below that we'll use a roof again. So go back to the roof, we're using again roof number 2. I'm really digging that one. Now we need to attach a roof going up and then do a roof top number 2 so we don't have the ledge to get stuck on. Here we're just matching the wall on each corner here so it's not misaligned. I like to keep nice and neat lines. Now it gives you a little ramp down here towards the window where you can watch the Fremen that are attacking your crawler in the deep desert. At the top of that window we're attaching a full ramp with triangle walls that we're covering that piece, and of course adding half walls here just to match the same color in this corner. Now at the top of the windows we set up here, we invert half walls with the outside facing inwards, and that's because the top of those windows are dark gray, and I think that way it looks better, either with the roof piece or you invert a half wall. So now we're doing the same exact thing on the other side, creating a little area here, and then we're attaching this half triangle wall. And as you see right there, that's the reason I added that roof piece, because I cannot add a full-size wedge wall there, so it does cover the gap. It covers the gap between the two half wedge walls. Here I'm doing the same exact thing I did on the other side, I'm just doing it from the bottom now. Same exact thing I did on the other corner. This is what we look like from the side now. We might as well just close the remaining gaps that we have left over here. And hopefully by now you already know which pieces to use to close these gaps with. Just to make sure that Muad'Dib doesn't crawl in here. So in this spot right here, we're going to be adding the ramps. We have no half stairs, remember? So we need to somehow get up to that platform here. Now here's something cool. When I put a flat piece of floor, I get this ledge issue here. But I can also use this inward corner, which will add a smooth transition in the corner there. And then from there, all we need to do is just add the rooftop right there. The rooftop number 2. And then we're good to go. We don't get stuck there anymore. Now we'll just do the same exact thing in this corner here. Alrighty. The only thing that's left here on the side is the roof, so we are putting the roof corner here regular roof, then we go to the window roof, back to the regular, and then window again. So we're just alternating the window and the regular one, and then just the corners. That's all there is to it. On the inside, on the other hand, I'm not a fan of leaving the roof the way it is, so we are going to be adding some floors below it, except for the areas where the windows are. And then we're just going to run a gray row of building pieces here, just half walls and wedge walls, and then cover the gap by the window here. But this time we are facing the pieces outwards with the red out. I think it looks pretty good. That adds some weight, thickness to the roof, and it doesn't look so video gamey. So do this exact same thing on the other side. I'm just gonna go ahead and fast forward this portion. Okay, so I fast forward to the point where I finished the other side now, and I ran a row of half walls in the back here just for an easier placement of pentashield. And you can kind of do the same thing around this corner as well. This is how I have the pentashield set up, basically just at the top, and then it goes down at the very front here. There you go. You can get a better idea what it looks like here. So here's me landing my carrier in here. The way I'm doing it, just push it as far forward as I can, and then look down at this angle, and I want the front legs to be at the bottom floor there, but I want the back legs right there to be on the upper floor, or upper section right there. Now the wings of the carrier may stick out just a tad bit, and maybe I can push it forward a little bit more. But believe it or not, I can fit the crawler in here as well, and actually a storage container, and a buggy. By the way, I just noticed now that I forgot about this section here, so patching it up, make sure you have no holes in yours either. Here's how the buggy fits in the garage. So in order to fit the crawler and the carrier in here at the same time, you want to make sure that's in the center, and then you push it forward. Here's how I park the carrier here. Like a glove. So this video has been much longer than I anticipated that it would be. It's only a single sub fief, and I can't imagine how long a video would be of one of these epic builds. I appreciate you sticking around for this long, and I appreciate you supporting the channel. Hopefully you found the information in this video useful. So this is it for this build. I appreciate you watching. Goodbye.
Tasting poison and fire, only blue inside my veins. Pure awareness is expanding, demanding my submission to the pains. Every century's bleeding, flashing out before my eyes. Every timeline is collapsing, unwrapping all the ancient corporate lies.